Hey, this is Crazy Softball Dad here, and I am with Julia from DeMarini. Julia, welcome.
Glad to be here.
So, Julia has her dream job. I'll just say that right now. And my dream job too. But she is a softball player working for one of the best softball companies in the world, and they are a huge back company. And Julie, why don't you give us a little background of who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I grew up in Minnesota, grew up south of St. Paul, and started playing a couple sports when I was young, but softball was kind of like the love of my life. As soon as I got to touch a ball and a bat, I was just like in love with it. Um, and so I kind of decided in like middle school, high school that like my dream in life was to play Division I softball. Didn't really care about anything else. Like all I wanted to do was go to school and play softball, and really didn't think about a career for myself. That was really all I wanted to do. And so I was practicing every day, like doing everything I could in school just to make that dream happen. Um, and I had the opportunity to play Division I ball at North Dakota State. And so I committed my junior year and went there. And right before I graduated, this is actually like a weird story, and I didn't even really think of it until I got this job. But someone had interviewed me right before my senior season, and they said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And at that point, I knew I was planning to major in engineering, but the only reason I had picked that at that point was because I was good at math, and I thought majoring in math by itself would be boring. So I was like, well, let's just do math, but like creative math, like designing math. So I just picked it kind of on a whim, but I didn't have a career in mind. And when someone asked me like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? I just kind of was joking around, and I said, I want to design bats. I want to be a bat engineer. And at that point, I had no idea that that job existed. It was just kind of a way to play off the question in an interview. And I honestly forgot about it for a while until I got this job, and we went back and found the published interview. And we kind of looked back at it, and my parents and I were just like, wow, that's kind of crazy that worked out. But fast forward a little bit, got to play Division I ball for the Bison at NDSU Roll Herd. Had a great time there. We went to the NCAA tournament all 4 years that I was there. We won our conference. We played in regionals at UW in Seattle, Arizona and Tucson, Norman in Oklahoma, where we actually beat Oklahoma. That was a fun
Nice.
one. And then my senior year was at University of Minnesota. And that one was special in its own way because it was close to home. All of my family got to come watch. Obviously, you're an alumni. And the coolest part was the coach of University of Minnesota last year was Jamie Traxel. And she was actually the coach that recruited me to North Dakota State. So it was cool to see her and play her. And we're close to this day. I still talk to her. So it was just cool to see her. And then if we weren't going to win that one, it was painful to watch her win it in the moment. But if we weren't going to win it, we wanted to see her do well, and to see them have just a historic season last year was really special, especially to have her be a part of it and know that like at heart, she's a Bison and always will be. But anyway, so I got to have a great time at NDSU and fulfilled that goal in my life of being a Division I softball player. But just kind of by chance, my life dream kind of changed in college into the life I'm living right now. So one of my college teammates got a job at Wilson in marketing, just an internship over the summer where she traveled and went to tournaments and kind of set up pop-up booths and sold bats and answered questions and just kind of did promo work. She did that early on in our college career, and then later in our college career needed a partner to do it with. So they were hiring another person, and I like begged her. I was like, please pick me. Like, meanwhile, I was studying engineering, and she was choosing between me and some of her business majors or communication major friends or marketing people, like people where it's right up their alley. And I was like, dude, please, like, I really want to do this. I really think this would be cool. I know this isn't my major, but like, I got to do it. And she was like, okay, fine. I'll put a good word in for your name. And they hired me, and I had a great time that whole summer doing marketing work and promotions, and just being in the sporting goods industry for real this time was just like, it was crazy. I got to hang out with Natasha Watley and Crystal Bustos and Jenny Ritter, and just like even like current people like Amanda Chittister and Sierra Romero. And it was just crazy to me to like have these real life conversations with these people. And so I just like was immediately obsessed with it and just all in with effort, and anything they wanted me to do, I was like, yes, like I will do anything to be here. And just kind of by chance, there was a tournament where we were working, and a bunch of the members from the research and development team at Louisville Slugger and DeMarini were out there. And I didn't really know who they were at first. And I think if I had, I would have been much more nervous to talk to them. But they came up and introduced themselves, and we just kind of hung out for the week and worked. And they kind of talked to us and discovered that like my background was in engineering and that I didn't have any plans post-grad at this point. And they were both, the teams at Slugger and DeMarini were both really interested in like getting me out here for an interview and stuff, because I don't know if you're familiar with engineering, but there's not a ton of women in there. And I know I don't really look it, but I'm a Latina, and that's like my family came to the US in the 60s from Cuba. And so that's like a culture that I hold near and dear to my heart. And it's also another really underrepresented group in engineering. And so they were just like, wow. And I think we do a really good job at Wilson and at DeMarini specifically of trying to employ diverse background people. Like just, it helps with getting all these different kinds of points of view. And like, especially in the job that I do, it's very creative based, and to have people that come from all different kinds of backgrounds helps in the creative process, and just like to have people that will think of things differently. So they were kind of interested just in the fact that I was a female and that I had played high level softball and was an engineer. And so they set up an interview in this winter of my senior year. So they flew me out to Hillsborough, which is where I work now. Spent the day at the factory hanging out with the team and meeting people, went out to dinner, and just kind of got a feel for like what things would look like here and what my role would be. And then the next morning I flew down to Roseville, which is where our headquarters for Louisville Slugger are, and got to do a similar thing there, toured their facility, and met the guys, talked about the way they do things, and just kind of my opportunities there. And then after that, they just asked me like which one I wanted to work at. And it was just like a surreal opportunity for me. Like I couldn't believe that I, like a little girl from Minnesota, like got that chance to pick one of two dream jobs. And it was a great decision to make. And it really wasn't hard, because I knew that either way I was going to have an amazing time. And it wasn't something where I was like afraid to choose one over the other. It was just like, wow, like I can't lose here. And so I picked DeMarini for a variety of reasons, but I just felt like DeMarini was a company where I felt like it really matched me as an individual with our missions and stuff. And I just felt really at home. And I've been here for over a year now. And I couldn't agree with that even more today than I did when I made that decision. But moved out here a week after I graduated, packed my apartment up, just moved right out, and got to work right away. And have literally not been able to stop smiling. Literally have not been able to stop smiling since I started working here. And like, it's dream job doesn't even come close. It's the coolest thing I could have imagined. It's the dream job I never knew existed. But I know that was a long version of the story, but it's my favorite story to tell, because it's the number one source of joy in my life.
You know, and it's good because we reach parents of softball players, and you know, there's great stories to hear, because I think a lot of times as parents we're like this. Right, You're just going to get a scholarship. That's all we care about. But it's a lot more than just a scholarship and playing softball. It's your life, and it's a really cool way, the way you described how your softball playing really helped contribute to your career. And it's I mean, that's a dream job. That's a story in a one. So congratulations, and
thank you. It's a special time in sports right now too. And like you were saying, with having a background in softball, like through this job, I've met a lot of other women that have had similar opportunities to mine, where the company found them, and it's just like, wow, like we've had a man do this job forever, and we've never had a woman do it. Like it's the sporting good industry is booming right now with opportunities for young women, because the men that have done these jobs for as long as they've been around are just like, they want to know, like they want to infuse it with women, and they want to like be able to give little girls playing softball a game that was also built by women that played it, you know, like because they've had that with baseball forever, and it's just like it feels active, not even push, but like they're just happy to bring in more women. And I know women that work in cool jobs and hit tracks and USSSA and Easton, and like it's not just our company. It's just like this MLB is hiring people, Big Ten, where they're just really excited to broaden the span of representation that we're having in the sport and people that are building it. And I'm really, really honored to be a part of it.
Well, that's I'm honored to be talking to you, to be part of that. And
Thanks.
you are truly paving the road for girls coming above. And the other thing is you're doing a great justice for women's sports, just being involved in it. And I think I've had the honor to talk to a lot of second generation softball players. You know, I had last week, I had a really cool guest. Have you ever heard of Diane Baker?
I haven't.
5 different MVP or Hall of Fame she's in, but she was kind of that second generation of building women's softball and girls softball. And now I'm at this level in your generation. It's really interesting and it's really important that women are involved in this. And even on the coaching side,
I totally
coach
agree.
my daughter this year in high school, she had a woman coach, and boy, obviously she performed 200 times better for that coach than me, and that's great, and I was super excited about that. So thank you for that.
No problem. And not only are women doing that work in softball now, but like there are women coaching in the NFL and the MLB, and I think men are like starting to realize like, okay, this is like another, like kind of what I was talking about with the perspectives, like it's an asset to have another perspective to something. And so I think it's not like we're taking jobs that used to be men's. It's like we're making our own jobs, and we're like everyone improves, everyone benefits from a more diverse thing. And I know like a lot of people will ask me about Fastpitch and like, oh, you make Fastpitch bats? I'm like, yes, I do a lot with Fastpitch, and I'm our Fastpitch player insight specialist. Like I'm the most Fastpitch specific person we have, but I can also talk baseball bats all day long, and I help innovate on our baseball line too. And so it's cool to like, and that was one thing I actually didn't really expect to be involved in. Is I thought like, you know what, it's cool enough to be involved in the girls stuff. Like I probably won't get to like be involved with baseball, and that's fine. And it's totally not like that. It's totally an equal team that we have here, and we all work on everything. And it's cool to be a part of that and to offer my different perspective to the baseball game too.
Awesome. Well, that's a good segue because we're here to talk bats.
Perfect.
I wanted Julia here to talk about bats because DeMarini's got a great lineup of bats. And as a coach and as a parent, I get asked that question all the time. Which bat should I get for my daughter? And, you know, it's like, that's a loaded question. And that's a tough question. Sometimes I don't want to answer because, you know, sometimes a parent has a little more, I don't know what I'm trying to say, Julia, but sometimes their daughter's not at that level of the high-end power hitting bat. And so many other bats.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to stick to DeMarini today. And if you don't mind, Julia, tell us about the technologies and the levels that we have at DeMarini, so a parent that's watching this can understand what their kid abilities and styles are, and which bat's going to fit best for them, because that is the biggest issue we have.
Mm-hmm. So for our Fastpitch line, I'll start with our bread and butter, which is our CF. Our CF is our most popular bat to date with Fastpitch. It's the one that put us on the map in Fastpitch, and it's one of the most popular bats today and has been since it came out. Right now, the model is just called the CF. I know last year's 2019 model was the CF Zen, and the one previous to that was CFX. So we will be coming out with a new one in the next couple of months, hopefully, tentatively. We're still working on a release date. Coronavirus kind of got in the way. Our original launch date for the next line for all 3 of our bats was going to be in June, but right now it's kind of been delayed, and we're still kind of talking about when. But the CF is really our most versatile bat. There's really not a player out there that the CF can't help, but the perfect player that the CF is made for is somebody that's, like hitting line drives, gap to gap, somebody probably in the meat of the order, somebody that's looking to have high bat speed and barrel control. It's got an awesome, I'll talk a little bit about MOI later. It's got an awesome MOI where and by that I mean like a mass index, which is kind of an indicator of more how heavy a bat swings rather than how heavy a bat actually is. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but the CF has this amazing balance of that it's light enough that you're going to have a really good swing weight, but it's also got enough mass behind it that you're going to feel like you're getting all the way through a ball. So that's kind of our midpoint for our bat is the CF. So that's for most players, is the CF. It's personally probably my favorite out of this year's line. I like it. I switch hit a little bit. I didn't switch hit in college, but I switch hit a little bit before college, and I do now just to test. The CF is absolutely my favorite to slap with. I just feel like it has really good barrel control, and I feel like I can get my hands through the zone really fast. I really like it as a righty too. It's very smooth. And as for the sound, I know girls are big on sound. It's a really stoic and really classic composite sound. So whereas the Ghost and the Xeno and the LXT are kind of a newer composite sound, this one is one of those OG composite sounds. It's smooth is kind of the word I would say for it. It's not going to have a high pitch noise or I say broken glass noise is kind of what people describe the Xeno as, and I say that with quotes because it's not a bad thing. Like that sound is, I love that sound. So broken glass is not a negative connotation there, but it's more of a traditional sound, like I said before. So that one's going to be kind of our starting point. If you move a little bit higher on MOI, and again, that's mass index, so how heavy a bat swings, we're going to hit the Phoenix. So the Phoenix is going to have similar technology in the composite layup in the barrel. So it's going to have a similar feel off the bat as the CF, but it's a little bit stiffer and a little bit heavier. At the drop 10 level, the CF and the Phoenix are pretty comparable. So the MOIs are pretty equal. You're not going to have a ton of extra weight on that Phoenix. So if you want to get the feel of a Phoenix without the weight of a Phoenix, that drop 10 is perfect for you. And by feel, I mean a little bit stiffer. So with the CF, we have a 3 fusion connection piece, which is going to dampen vibrations on a miss hit. It's going to give you that smooth feel that goes along with that smooth sound. The Phoenix is a direct handle connection. So you're going to get more feedback in the barrel, which means a little bit more feeling when you're touching the ball. And so for some players, that's what they're looking for, and some players, they're not. And that's kind of what you're getting at with players looking and parents looking for that right bat for their kid. Feedback is a huge thing for kids. So, and by that I mean feedback in the hands, what you're feeling on a miss hit or something on a sweet spot. And there's no real right answer for that. There's no you should want a flexible bat or you should want a stiff bat. That's totally objective because both perform. And so the CF is our example of a flexible bat where you're gonna hit it well, you're gonna miss hit, and they're all gonna feel pretty good. The Phoenix, when you hit it well, is gonna feel really good. And when you hit on either the end cap or towards the handle, it's not going to feel bad, but it's going to feel different. There's more of a range in how it feels. And so that's what I would say, more feedback. And so typically we see higher level players, like girls that are a power, like a 4 hitter, or someone that's probably like a Division I caliber player, a pro level player, somebody that's the best on their varsity team, someone that's really going for that long ball most of the time rather than line drives or contact hitters, where they're going for the fences every time. They kind of want that stiffness because they would rather have maximum energy transfer than have a ball that like feels good kind of off the bat. And that's not necessarily always true. So when I'm giving you these generalizations, I'm trying to help players kind of visualize which one might be best for them. But at the end of the day, what you like is what you like. So you might try about at a demo, and you might say like, oh, I thought I was going to be a Phoenix player, but I'm a Prism player. Or I thought I was going to be a Prism player, but I'm a CF player. And that's totally what you should go by. Like hitting is a little bit technical, a little bit mechanical, like all mental. So it's all what you think up here. And so everything I'm going to say and have said is just a guideline. You got to really trust like what your gut says and what your swing tells you when you're swinging about. But getting back to the Phoenix. So the connection piece, a little bit stiffer. Also the plastic that we use in the end cap and the handle the knob, a little bit stiffer material, just to give you that little bit of extra feedback. So they're both bats are going to feel amazing. You're going to like the sound. They're a pretty similar sound, but you're going to get a little bit more feedback on your hands in the CF and energy transfer on the Phoenix and energy transfer through that ball, and a little more forgiveness and flexibility with the CF. The Phoenix comes in drop 9 and drop 8. We did that because we were targeting power hitters. So we figured that those girls that are wanting to swing a drop 8 and a drop 9 are also those same girls that want a stiffer bat. And we've seen that kind of with our Division I level testers and myself and some of our Team USA players and other pro sponsored athletes. And it's not always true. So I'm going to give you an example of one that isn't true. Amanda Chittister, catcher for Team USA, University of Michigan alum. She is ideal for the Phoenix. Like on paper, perfect Phoenix, like exactly what we would give a Phoenix to. But she just really likes the flexibility in the CF. Like she just really likes the way it flexes. She likes the feel. She likes the pop on it. She likes the Phoenix too, but she loves the CF. So she's an example of really knowing what you want and trusting what you like, and kind of having that flexibility to choose, of getting to pick a bat that really fits you and not necessarily what you're told that you'll like. Where like we would have told her that she would like a Phoenix when really she's got that flexibility to choose and likes the CF. And then to get to the Prism. So the Prism is our newest out of the three. The Phoenix and the Prism came out at a similar time, but the Phoenix is based on our CF tech. Our Prism is totally new tech. So we actually, since the Prism came out, it's probably been a year and a half, but we've been working on Prism and Prism development for, I want to say 7 years. We've been working on the bat for a really long time, and we wanted to perfect it before we released it. The tech, actually, we invented it in slow pitch many years ago with the flipper and the nihilist is kind of a similar technology. It's a double barrel or a gapped bat technology. And the way it works, I'll kind of quick explain the way the CF and the Phoenix work before I get into the Prism. But the Phoenix and the CF are hollow bats. Every bat starts hollow, and then you have to decide as a bat designer, how are we going to get this to be legal? How are we going to pass this bat? How are we going to have it stay safe and be a good bat for girls to use in gameplay? And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can change the layup with the composite so that it breaks when it gets too hot, which is the only way that you can do it with a hollow bat, which is how the Phoenix and the CF are. They're hollow bats, but the way that we line up our composite layers is that when you reach that 98 miles an hour or whatever that cutoff is, that your bat will break and thus be legal. And so that's what we're looking for in a hollow bat. Bats that are not hollow or have a governor in them are bats where the barrel is going to flex and give you as much performance as possible, but that governor inside is going to stop it from going any further than what's legal. So an example of a governor that is not a gapped bat is the LXT and the Xeno technology, and a little bit with the RXT, and not to get too into Slugger's line, but they use discs. Discs are huge in baseball too. We use a lot of discs in baseball bats in every company, but especially DeMarini and Slugger. But that disc is going to let that barrel flex until it gets to the maximum depth that will cause a bat to hit a ball that's legal still, and then it'll hit that governor, and that's as far as that bat will go. It's not going to be able to get past that disc to flex any further. So when you're designing a bat with a governor in it, it's going to hit at one spot, and you kind of design it to be at that one spot to maximize the sweet spot. When you have a gapped bat technology or a double barrel, there's no disc in one spot. It's a completely separate barrel that we insert inside, and it's going to be suspended in the middle. And that way you're getting that same governor at every spot in the bat. And that's going to let that bat flex even further at all points in the bat and widen the sweet spot, because it's not going to have that peak disc at one point. It's just going to be a gradual large sweet spot. And so that's a technology that we perfected in slow pitch, and we've had amazing success in slow pitch with it. And so we adapted it into fast pitch and released it as a prism, and it's been one of our biggest launches to date. And I'll cover this right now, but I know a lot of girls that have stuck with DeMarini their entire lives, and they're used to that traditional stoic CF sound. And I'll tell you right now, the prism is a different sound. It's not what you would call a traditional DeMarini sound. It's completely all our tech, and we stand behind it. We love it, and it is a different sound, and we own that. And I think we talk to players on the field and stuff about it, where we're like, all right, like this isn't a CF. This is different. And it's okay to like the CF. It's okay to like the prism, but you got to know like it's a different bat. And so it's going to be a little bit of a louder sound, and more on the range of broken glass, not necessarily all the way to that traditional broken glass Xeno sound that kind of defines that area of sound in softball, I would say. But it's closer to that than it is a traditional composite DeMarini sound. So it's somewhere different. And then it just has to do with the tech. It has to do with those barrels interacting and the way that they collide, and just the way that they fit in there. So it's a product of the technology that's inside of it, is where that sound comes from. But the cool thing about the prism is that it's very high performance on a tee, front toss, live, cold weather, hot weather, because it's so uniform throughout the barrel. You're getting a really consistent performance through that bat in any condition. And then it's also a really light swinging bat. So with the prism, you're able to get, like, with me, I know personally, if we're talking numbers, my bat speed with most bats is really similar, but with the prism in that same size, if I'm sticking to, like, in college I swung a 33 drop 10. So if I'm swinging a 33 drop 10 in 10 bats across a couple different companies, the prism is usually my highest bat speed. And your exit velocity is a product of your bat speed and the MOI of the bat. So it's a two-part thing. High bat speed doesn't always necessarily equal high batted ball, and heavy bat doesn't also equal hard hit ball, but high bat speed, heavy bat, if you can maximize those two, that's where you're going to have your best bat. And so the prism, super fast to swing. Like, you can get your hands, it's very balanced, very quick to swing. And it has really good feel on it. Like I said, that big sweet spot is really smooth. You're going to get good pop on really every spot of that bat. And it's going to be our more flexible feeling bat. So even more flexible than the CF, I would say. And so that one is going to be kind of, again, for that contact hitter, somebody that's hitting gap to gap, somebody looking to increase their bat speed. If you're somebody that's struggling with bat speed, or you want to like increase that a little bit, prism is the way to go for sure. And then the prism is also offered in drop 10, or it's offered in drop 11, drop 10, and drop 9. Forgot to mention the CF is also drop 11. But between the CF drop 11 and the prism drop 11, two of the most popular bats on the market for drop 11 for sure. They're so light swinging at the drop 10 level too, but drop 11 is unmatched. It's awesome to see those girls getting their bat speed up like that. But then to counter that with the drop 9, it's one of the smoothest swinging drop 9s out there, the prism, because you're still maintaining that core swing speed from the original prism design, but it's a little bit more mass behind it. And like I talked about earlier, your batted ball speed is really dependent on your swing speed and the mass of the bat that you're swinging. So if you can add that extra ounce with the drop 9, you're going to take that high bat speed and add a little bit more oomph behind it and get into it. I will say, because the prism swings so light, a lot of players are able to finally go up in that extra ounce or go up in that extra inch. For myself, I've swung a 33 drop 10 since I was 16. That was everything that I've ever swung. Didn't matter if it was a Xeno, an LXT, a prism, a CF, it was always that. And then later in my senior year, I started kind of playing around with like my bat speed felt really fast with the 33 drop 10 and the Prism. So I played around a little bit with the 34 drop 10. And I've done a little bit of research with that since I started working here is because it's so light swinging, girls are able to get that extra inch. So if you're kind of borderline where you're like, I don't know if I want to go up an inch or go up an ounce, like I think maybe, but I'm not sure yet. Like the Prism is the bat to do that with because you're able to still maintain that barrel control, which is what girls get into trouble with when they size up too early, is that they'll kind of suffer in the barrel control area. But because it's so light swinging, you're able to do that. So we've seen a lot of girls finally make that jump and get that more massive bat, which in turn provides you with a more force behind your ball.
My daughter's in love with her Prism.
Mm-hmm.
She's got an LXT
awesome.
and the Prism in her bag, and
yeah,
that beautiful LXT that she customized. She never uses it. She loves the Prism. So
I'll do a little plug right here for our customs. We lowered the price of our customs from what we've done in the past. Now it's a $50 upcharge from a stock bat to a custom. And so if you've been thinking about doing a custom in the past, now's the time. And I don't know if every girl has really explored that option. I know I didn't really look into it when I was a player just because it was so expensive, but if it would have been cheaper the way it is now, I absolutely would have tried for it. But it's so cool. You can put your name on it. You can put a quote on it. You can do any color scheme you want. You can match your team. You can customize to match what the pros are using. You can really do whatever you want with it. And it's really cool. And we make them in our factory here. I know I was talking to you a bit earlier about kind of pictures and videos of things we do here, but I have a TikTok account like all the little kids around the country. And my TikTok account is Julia Luciano 0. But I use that account to kind of post things about our factory and a lot of things about custom bats because we make our custom bats in Hillsboro, Oregon, in our factory right here that I'm sitting in today. But that's where we paint them and ship them out and handcraft them here in the U.S. And it's such a cool process to watch. So if you get a chance to hop on that TikTok, take a look at it. It's a cool process to watch in person. And I walk down there sometimes just to relax and just kind of watch them paint. And it's really cool. But yeah, those customs, like she's got her LXT, they're special. They're really cool.
And I'll give you a little plug because, I paid the extra. Thank you. But saying all that, my daughter was a freshman this year, and she was stressing out: is she going to make the team? Is she going to make the team? But she had decided that before she even tried out, she was going to get the custom colors to match her team colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I hit send, and then I'm like, what happens if you don't make it? She goes, Dad. But she loves it, and she'll probably, it's a bigger bat, so she'll probably maybe go to that. But I probably see more of a new Prism coming down the road as opposed to her using
the new Prism graphics and stuff. Like with the customs are sweet. I loved the original rainbow color bat. Like it just was cool, and it looked really cool when you were swinging it fast. But I walk downstairs all the time, like I said, and look at people's customs, and sometimes I'm really impressed with what kids come up with, and just their color schemes are cool.
Yeah, no, it's a cool thing, and parents, great gift. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. It comes in a nice box, and it's like it looks like a car gets delivered to you. It's like this fancy.
They get the special name tag, right?
A little special keychain, and it's really the whole deal. It's absolutely worth the $50 extra to have a personal touch on it. And it's the first bat everybody notices on a field for sure.
Absolutely. And your kids will love you. I mean,
oh yeah.
Trust me.
Childhood me will be so jealous of your kids.
Yeah. And is there going down the road, is there something below the Prism, like an entry level?
Yes. So we do have the Sprite bat, which is our entry-level composite bat. And the cool thing about the Sprite is that it's a really high-level bat. It's designed with similar technology as our high-performance inline bats. The only difference is that we really took a lot of weight out of it. So it's going to be a drop 12. You're still going to get a high-level composite feel, composite sound, composite performance, but it's going to be lighter, which means more barrel control for that young player and more bat speed. And so that one is a Sprite. We we'll be having the Sprite again next year. We will always have a bat that's kind of in that spot, from my knowledge. Sometimes we play around with the graphics and the name, just to keep it fresh with people. But it's gonna be that entry level. Like, maybe my daughter is into softball for now. We're not sure if she's $300 bat into softball, but she's learning how to grow, and we want her to be able to compete with those players that we for sure know that when they're 7 that they want to be playing varsity in a couple years. Like, you're not sure yet, so you're not sure about that $300 investment. And honestly, when you're at that age level, sometimes you don't need the $300 tech. And I know when I talk to girls about bats, I never push the most expensive bat. I never push kind of like the price point on it, because to me, like, I'm an engineer. I'm very I like to optimize. And so for me, when I see a player, I'm like, what's your game? What bat fits you? And when you're that player that's just starting softball, the Phoenix is not for you. Like, it's just not built for you. It's not going to maximize your game. It might be built for the best players in the game. The Phoenix, the CF, the Prism, they're all built for the best players in the game. And for you to be the best player that you can be, you have to find that bat that's built for you. And sometimes that entry-level bat fits you perfectly, and it lets you maximize your swing speed and your exit velocity, and that's the one that's for you. And it's kind of a little bit like we talked about with that self-awareness of kind of figuring out where you're at and trying to find a bat that maximizes where you're at now, so that you can grow into the player that you really want to be.
Yeah, that's great information. Yeah, this has been absolutely huge. I really can't thank you enough on all that information. As a coach, as a parent, we sit there and just scratch our heads going, I don't know. So I was lucky. I had some inside help trying to find that bat, but most people aren't that lucky, and they usually get the popular bat, and about a 60% chance of not the right bat for you. So this is great information.
Yeah, no problem.
So I want to thank you, Julia, for coming on and having this conversation. This was exactly what our parents want, what I wanted. It's making me think a little more too, because I've never had this in-depth conversation with it. So thank you for that. And, I hope to have you on again to talk a little bit about Louisville Slugger. So, thank you again. And I will put at the bottom, I will put your TikTok. And so people can go and check that out. Hey, I have a TikTok account, all right? So don't make fun of us old people. So thank you. And thanks
for having me.
Yeah, have a super day.